Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Southampton Way podcast. Uh, First of all, slight apology because this will come to you slightly later than usual. Did have a slight technical hiccup when recording last time, and there was three of us. We did have Mark White of Hampshire Live, but unfortunately he is not feeling particularly well. So get well soon, Mark, and hope to have you on again soon, mate. So there's lots to cover this week. 3 games and all. So we face Leicester at the weekend. We'll catch up on that one, which was a very rare victory at home. We then go to United, the Poison Chalice that's Old Trafford. We've got to travel up there on Sunday and try and fight a result out there. And we face the Bees at home in a midweek clash Wednesday night. So we will cover it all. And no better man to join me to do that than football broadcaster and podcaster Martin Sanders. Welcome, Martin. Thank you for coming back, mate.
Josh, thanks for having me. It's good to be here. Hello, everybody. Hope you're well.
Pleasure.
Feel good for a result last weekend, mate. That's for sure. It was good, wasn't it?
It was much better. It was a bit squeaky bum time, but we will get into the nitty gritty of it. So I think it makes sense to start off with how important those points were, mate. Well, how did you feel walking away from the stadium? Were you fulfilled?
Relieved. I felt relieved. I thought we rode our luck late on in the game. It was a slow start. We looked nervous, but obviously we got the penalty. I thought we got a touch on Theo Walcott, haven't we? Because I thought Theo has been widely spoke about across social media this week. Massive shout out, Theo, for tuning in, mate, because you were fantastic. Everything we've needed in the last few weeks: a bit of leadership, somebody that get hold of the ball. I know he's criticised a bit, but mate, he wants to wear the Southampton jersey. And he stepped up, and I think he's a massive part in the dressing room at the moment. He's come to the fore when we really needed him. I thought he was probably one of our better players for the Leicester game. Look, we'll talk about the substitutions and how the game kind of ended, but he got that penalty. Surprised to see James miss, but he's been great for us, hasn't he? So you can't hold it against him. It's a penalty, and he struggles with penalties, doesn't he, Ward-Prowse?
Yeah, he's not got the greatest record from the spot, is he?
No, he did the same against Brighton at home.
He did. There's a. I saw the
same
image
height.
they put up.
Same height,
same place.
Yep.
I think I don't know. He's got different confidence when he steps over a set piece, sort of free kick to a penalty. But I don't know with Prowse. Maybe he gives the next one to someone else. You never know. But yeah, a word on Walcott. I think he was outstanding. And I heard I listened to the presser today from Ruben Sellers, and someone put the question to him and said, what did he, what was the decision like for you to make to start him? And he just said, I think first of all that he sort of earned it, and which I totally agree with. He did, and that he brings the aspects that he listed were quite interesting, because he said he and it wasn't just the old. It was, he brings experience. It wasn't that. It was sort of he come through the academy. He knows the club inside out. He is direct down the wing. He can play off the 10. Like he listed a bunch of things about him, and I thought every single one of those things Theo did really, really well on Saturday. And it was a bit disappointing to see him come off at the time he did. But
he looked quite fresh, didn't he? For somebody,
he did, and he seemed sort of disappointed. He seemed disappointed to come off. He sort of, his head sort of went down, sort of had to drag himself off a bit. But we will get into the subs in a minute. And I aside from Chelsea, and I know we can sit back and analyse this at the end of the season when it's all over. But what would you say in terms of ranking? Do you think that was possibly our most important 3 points to pick up this season so far?
It's definitely one of them. It's definitely say at the end of the season how important it was, but I think it was it was vital. We couldn't afford to lose. We had to walk away with 3 points. I was just like hanging on at the end. I was a nervous wreck for the last 25 minutes. I don't know about you. I was with my best mate, and he's a massive Southampton fan, and we were just like hands in the heads in some moments, and we were just delighted with Alcaraz. Actually, he thought he played well, and he's the only sort of man that wants to get on the ball and get a shot off, and he did, didn't he? That it was a fantastic goal from him. He really took it well. He scored 2 really good home goals. I think he's going to play a pivotal role in this run-in, along with Silamana. Silamana's going to come good. I've got really good vibes about Silamana. I like him as a player. I think he's really technically really good. He's maybe not playing in the position because we play so narrow. We spoke about this on the pod last week. We play so narrow with this 4 treble 2 that he wants to play, and I'd like to see him out wide, hugging the touchline and getting at people, getting at fullbacks.
No, I couldn't agree more. We will go on to Charlie because he deserves all the plaudits for his performance on Saturday. But yeah, like you said, I agree with you on Camaldine. It would be lovely to see him attacking a fullback every now and again. I think actually it probably would have helped him to start at the weekend because we did start with it almost sort of a 4-2-3-1. I made it. I don't know what you made it because we obviously had the Prowsey and who was it? Lavia, obviously in the sixes, and then sort of Charlie 10, and then the 2 wide players. So I think that maybe would have suited him a bit better. But I do agree. I think he will come good. But yeah, Charlie Alcaraz, what a player! He showed it against Wolves, didn't he? I think his first game was against Everton, right? He was 24 hours or whatever, straight off the plane, straight in the team, and I thought he played well at Everton from what we saw him. Just like everyone, he was shit against Grimsby, but again, that wasn't exactly a good yardstick, was it? Because Grimsby, everyone was dreadful. But yeah, Wolves. I think he picked up the only open play goal that we had aside from Ward-Prowse after the World Cup, which was against Everton, obviously. And then he's done it again. When Rasmus did that interview with Adam Blackmore, he described Charlie Alcaraz as like a young Tim Cahill, a sort of box to box. He can, he's got that fight in him, and he loves to get in the box and have a pot shot and shoot and really direct. And from what I've seen, actually, I don't agree with a lot of what he says, but I really do. I think he is a Tim Cahill-esque type player. I think he's also said Frank Lampard, which is probably the more flattering, the more flattering of the two to be compared to. But I mean, no disrespect to Tim Cahill, he's a great player, but I think that it's pretty accurate. He's brilliant going back. He's tenacious. I think he maybe not got away with it, but because it was so early in the game with that challenge, I think it probably helped him. But I think it shows the passion. He wanted to win the ball back. He didn't get it right. And he didn't go in for too many more challenges after that, rightly so.
No,
But yeah,
he was lucky, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. What did you make overall of Charlie's performance?
Thought he was good.
Yeah.
Thought he was really good, mate. Yeah, thought he was fantastic. Played really, really well. He's direct, wants to get a shot off. And that's all you can wish for, isn't it? That he's prepared to get a shot off, and that's exactly what we need.
Yeah, I agree. What did you, position-wise, playing him just off of Shea Adams? Do you think that's probably the best place to play him?
Yeah, because Shea's a really good foil, isn't he, for anybody? And I think he's probably cried out for it all season. Someone that's going to work off him because he likes to drop deep, and he's good at holding the ball. But he's got a nice touch where he can find a pass. He doesn't get loads of goals, does he? But I think Charlie's a perfect person for him in a minute. He's got pace, he's got legs, and yeah, he was brilliant. I think he like I said earlier, I think he'd be a key man in this running for us. At least he looks like he's going to get a shot off. He's not always. I said a couple of weeks ago, we're very easy to try and pass the ball on and keep moving it, and we shirk responsibility. But sometimes to play with pace, kind of get a team and put them under pressure and squeeze and get amongst people, and that's what he'd bring. He works hard, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he does something that a lot of the new signings are doing, and I mentioned it with Alex Barker of the Athletic. I said to him that the new boys, especially Camaldine and Charlie, are playing without fear because they've got no reason to fear anything. That there's literally nothing lost, nothing gained for those guys. So I think that can only be taken as a positive. They really don't play like they're scared of anybody, and that's what we've needed to do all season. A Saints of 5-6 years ago would not fear anybody. And I think that at times kept scorelines down because even when we were under the cosh, not one player felt inferior to their opposition, and we felt very foul of giving everyone too much respect in the past few years. And I feel like Charlie brings that sort of that fight back, and it's good. It's nice to see. It's really nice to see. And you mentioned about Che Adams there, and that he obviously not the greatest of goal scorers. great pass for Alcaraz for the goal. Do you see that being the partnership, or do you think, because where do we fit someone like Tall Paul in now? If that's it going forward?
Yeah, we spoke about this at the weekend actually. Me and my pal did, and we were like, where does he fit? Because have we signed him for the style of play that Nathan Jones was trying to play? Because it looks that way. We when we have played him during Sellers' time, we've not played to the boys' strengths at all. I like him, actually. I think he's a good player, Tall Paul, but yeah, he's not really had a run, has he? Whether he had a bit of a knock because he didn't play against Grimsby, but I don't know where he fits. And it'd be interesting to see how it unravels. I would have liked to seen him come on instead of Mara. I'll be totally honest. We didn't touch upon the substitutions, but I didn't like the substitutions. I think if you listen to any Southampton fan, to end up with Mara on the field, Adam Armstrong on the field, and Moye Elyounoussi on the field, it really had me on the edge, to be fair. I know Elyounoussi works hard, but he looks void of any confidence when he's on the ball. That's for sure. And the same with Adam Armstrong. I thought the change that needed to be made when he took Alcaraz off, I thought that was Stuart Armstrong. For me, Stuart's technically a better player. He's good on the ball. He works hard, but he's technically a lot better than Moy. And I was surprised at that substitution, but the Mara substitution I found a little bit baffling. Obviously, he doesn't score a great deal of goals, but that opportunity that Adam Armstrong had down at the chapel end, it flew in the stand. It just doesn't connect with the ball. It just kind of like snatches at stuff.
Yeah, I don't know what. It's such a shame to see him do that, because like we've mentioned before in previous pods, he was, I think he was the second top goal scorer in the entire English pyramid behind Ivan Toney when we signed him. So the guy knows where the net is. I just don't understand where his confidence can go. I mean, Premier League football is tough, isn't it? And if you feel like you're not up to it, then it could hurt. Could really.
I had a long conversation this week actually with the Premier League footballer, and we were talking about how unforgiving the Premier League is, and it is that situation for Gavin Bazunu. Is unforgiving, and it's under the microscope all the time. We touched upon it last week. He still looks nervous, and it worries me. Every week we go into big games at the moment. We need big performances from our goalkeeper, and obviously Walker Peters gave him an awful back pass. It was a shocking back pass, but he shanked it straight in the Acho, didn't he? And he should have scored. The striker has to score, really. He had 3 really good chances, Nacho, for them. And late on, he kind of come for the ball and he's flat for it. He didn't get anywhere near it. He got really lucky there. Really lucky. But it is unforgiving, the Premier League, isn't it? Tough, Josh. So tough.
Yeah. It is tough. And we've touched on the goalkeeping situation, like you said, but we will go into Gav's performance, because I think it does need talking about, because it's only fair, right? I'm the first to criticise anybody else, and I do not scapegoat players. I will criticise them as fairly as I will praise them. So I think, before I fully get into Gav's performance, I think you're right in this, what you're saying about the subs. Really, for me, it was like the obvious one was Stuart Armstrong, and I took my dad at the weekend, and it's his first game since. Well, he's come to the odd one, but I think it was Arsenal at home he come, and not too long ago, earlier in the season. But regardless, he was saying to me, because he doesn't watch us at home week in, week out, he'll listen to the radio, he'll listen to Adam Blackmore and Joe Tessam. So he was saying that, because I said, I pointed out to him, I said Alcaraz has done himself in somewhere. I didn't see that it was in the celebration. I just noticed.
Yeah, I didn't realise it was in the celebration as well. No,
I had no idea. So I just said, look, Alcaraz is injured. He's going to have to come off. And he went, oh no. And I said, well, because it was getting close to that halfway, and you could see him. I could see him talking to the sidelines. I said, he'll stay on, but he needs to come off at half time. 1, because he's booked. 2, because he's injured. He didn't come off at half time, which surprised me. And I think Sellers actually held his hand up and said, I should have taken him off at half time. But the sub that subsequented from that was poor, because my dad said to me, "Oh, it should be Stuart Armstrong." I said, "I agree with you, but a typically Southampton manager thing to do is to not make that decision." And I actually said to him, "I think it'll either be Elyounoussi or he'll bring on Diallo and drop and push Ward-Prowse up into the 10." I said it's going to be one of the two, and obviously it was unfortunately Elyounoussi, and I don't want to say unfortunately, but he does not give me a reason not to at the moment. He's just, I don't know what he offers, and when he does offer it, he offers it very little. It's just not, Ralph was saying it when he was manager. He was saying Moyes a great guy and he knows what he's doing, but he just lacks that touch, that last bit, he named it nastiness, but we all know he meant sort of like clinical, and he's just not. Every single time he's in the final third, he makes the wrong pass, or he sees the pass and he can't make it. It's just so frustrating. And week after week we're playing him, and it does make you scratch your head. He's out of contract in the summer. Why are you still giving him this sort of minutes? It only makes me think that he's going to sign a new deal and stay on again, which
Yeah, I think he
probably
will.
for a squad player is not the worst thing. But 60 minutes in, which again Sellers addressed today, Elyounoussi not your man. He's not your man. In fact, I don't know what situation he's your man in. But I agree with you. None of those three. I mean, Sekou Mara didn't deserve to be anywhere near it after his performance against Grimsby. It was atrocious. Again, I would have liked to have seen Paul as well. I do understand his reasons, but I think we need to start playing to that man's strengths. Yeah, I mean, moving on a little bit from that, I think the obvious one we do need to talk about, which you covered earlier, was Gavin. He didn't just have the last one at the end, which shit us all up, did he? He had a few. There was a few in there that was slightly worrying.
There's been a few over a few weeks, mate. Now.
Yeah. McCarthy's training. Would you start him against United?
I think it's a tough call. I think they've never really called upon the backup keepers throughout the season, and it screams to me that they don't have confidence in the two backup goalkeepers, which isn't good enough in the Premier League. I think you have to have a goalkeeper that's capable of coming in if you need to. If you're going to bring a 19-year-old in that's from League One and expect him to come and keep goal in the Premier League, the world's biggest league, I think you have to have a really adequate backup. Alex has obviously struggled with injuries. Obviously, they've made the wrong choice in the goalkeeper they wanted to keep on, but that's been done. But I don't think there's any question from the people I speak to. There will be an experienced goalkeeper coming in this summer to probably back him up, because obviously Willie's not going to carry on. Willie's not going to carry on. But Alex, will I play him the weekend? Potentially. I don't think there's much between them, to be honest. He's a bit more taller, but I didn't like he didn't look greatly comfortable against Grimsby. But from the people I speak to, he suffered with injuries. He did have an injection last week, and that's why he's back in training. But it's just been via an injection. He's an issue with his shoulder. So how fit he is, I don't know. I think Gavin will start the weekend, if I'm honest, Josh.
Yeah, I can't disagree, and it's tough because, like you say, the only goalkeeper that's really done anything via his chance in the cup was Caballero, and do you start him really? I mean, he saved us once or twice against Blackpool. I mean, I don't think he was dreadful in the cup. I really don't think he was that bad. But do you really? Is it more a pride thing that you're going to put a 41-year-old in goal? Like, it's tough, and it's really tough. I think Gav will start. It's just really difficult to see how much he struggled. I knew he would struggle, but how much he struggled. And I agree with you. Wrong decision.
It's
Letting
confidence.
Forster go. It is. It is.
All
It is
confidence. As a goalkeeper, it's confidence. I think there's a few of our players that are lacking confidence. We've spoken about Moy. We're speaking about Gavin as well. I think they're two players that avoided confidence. Mara's another one that's really, and early on in that game against Leicester, we don't look confident. We look like a team that's been the bottom of the league for a long time, and it was good to get that result, and hopefully it gives us a bit of spirit. But we have a really tough weekend fixture.
Yeah, really tough. I think with the goalkeeping situation, it's made even more difficult when like you say, we let someone like Forster go in the summer, because you have to commit to it. You made the decision, you have to commit to it. And I've spoken to plenty of people like you, and I saw a table this week of goal. Basically, it was a goalie chart that said how many goals on roughly that was predicted that was at the keeper's error, effectively. So how many goals they'd let in that was kind of their fault. And Gav was rock bottom. It was 14.9. It was, so he's let in nearly 15 goals that we could have avoided through a bit of competency. I think the second lowest was something like 8 something. So he's really down there by some way, and it just doesn't help. It doesn't help. It's the same concept with a striker. As soon as one goes in, 5 can go in. As soon as but it's the other way for a keeper. A Hollywood save doesn't necessarily give him the confidence. It's just like, it's tough. I think clean sheets do, and our defence don't help. There's no question about that. Our defence don't help. But yes, I was chatting to my brother-in-law today, who's a West Ham fan, and I was saying to him, he's been tearing his hair out about their goalkeeping situation, because he's wanted Alphonse Areola in goal the whole season ahead of Fabianski. I'd give me right arm to have one of them in goal at the minute, someone with a bit of experience. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's tough because, yeah, I think that Gav is completely void of confidence. I don't think he's going to get it back before the end of the season, if I'm honest. He probably needs a pre-season and an experienced keeper to come in. We've probably, if we would have kept Forster, I mean, it's all speculation, but I would have said we would have probably been 4 or 5 points at least better off, due to all these little 1-0s and things like that. I mean,
I'll put a shout out who I'd have loved to have seen come in the summer as a goalkeeper. I know him well, and I think he's a fantastic professional. He would have been an incredible leader for us. Would have been Tom Heaton. He's at Man United. He was number 3. He was number 3 at the start of the season at Man United. He's now number 2. But I tell you something, he is a top professional, good human being. But he would have been, his time at Villa, he was good. But you look at his time at Burnley, he was a fantastic goalkeeper. And to be fair, he looks after himself well. I talk to him regularly. He looks after himself well. He doesn't miss training. He doesn't suffer with injuries. And obviously, he's not going to get a run at United. That's for sure. His contract's out at the end of the season. Actually, they've got an option to. I think they got there's an activation for another year, but it'd be a fantastic. It would have been fantastic. Whether it would have come south might be another matter. But he's the sort of man, he's the sort of man you want as a backup. You look at Everton. They've got Jordan Pickford and they got Asmir Begovic as a backup. Obviously, I know. I work for Asmir, so I know him well, and that he could probably walk in our side at the moment. Begovic would, because he's a top goalkeeper. He was top for Bournemouth a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, and was it Asmir who scored a goal against us for Stoke?
He did. We spoke about it actually on another pod that I jump on. Yeah, he did.
Unbelievable.
He's one of very few goalkeepers that scored in the Premier League. He told me
over Boris, wasn't it?
Yeah, and they ended up becoming teammates at Bournemouth. But it was, as he told me, it was a lucky punt upfield.
A bit of the wind took it, didn't it? But yeah, I remember that one vividly. It was like a minute or 2 in. I just remember going, "Oh my god, this is going to be a long afternoon." But yeah, I mean, someone like that, you look around at other clubs and you think, right, so who's got what? So Newcastle, they've got Nick Pope, Dubravka, and Karius. Although Karius isn't great, right? They all Premier League experience. You look at someone like United, like you say, Tom Heaton, David De Gea, and Jack Butland, who again, I would have. If it come in, the Saints had gone in for Jack Butland in the summer, I would not have been disappointed at all, because I think there was always a great goalkeeper in there. Whether he's had the potential and fulfilled his potential that he had anyway is a different story. But our depth in keepers is not great at the minute. We've got that Mateus Liz, who is on loan in France at the minute and seems to be doing okay. So maybe he might come back in the summer and maybe stake a claim. Considering, like you said, I don't think Willie will stay on. But we'll see. Time will tell with it. But it's just a bit of a worry with Gavin, and it's just how much of a worry that is. Do you think, especially with the second half, and we've covered the subs, do you think that it could be an ongoing situation, this whole sub at an hour mark, and then ride it out for the rest of the game? If so, does that worry you a bit? Because it worries me.
Yeah, massively worries me. I don't like the substitutions. I don't know what I've seen in the games, even at Chelsea. It kind of come off at Chelsea, but no, I don't particularly like the substitutions like on the hour. He just almost wanted to leave the game go a little bit longer because we weren't in any trouble. And the same at Chelsea, really. You just could have let it go a bit longer because I think Theo still had legs. like we said at the top of the show, he still had legs in the game. He looked fresh. He looked hungry. He worked hard for us, and it is alarming. And the substitutions he's made. I don't think he's got like horrific options off the bench. I think he's got some good options. You've had to include so many more substitutes within the squad now. So there are like you said, there's options. But it could have been Diallo. It gets criticised, but he can influence a game at times and shut things up. I'll tell you, I didn't touch upon. I want to touch upon. We're talking about substitutes, but obviously didn't get a substitute. Was Lavia a little bit more aggressive in the game against Leicester? Really good tackle that led to the goal. But no, I don't want to see the substitutes he's making, Josh. Absolutely not. I don't.
No, I don't blame you because I don't know many people who do. It's frightening. It's if he wants to stick with that hour mark thing to keep everyone fresh, and we got a big squad and massive games coming up, I get it. But surely bend a little bit. If one player's having a blinder, keep him on. It's fine. You haven't got to break the mold. If it's not broke, don't fix it. It's all good. It's not. You shouldn't make a routine of it. If something's working better than you expect it to, let it go a little bit. I do agree with you on that 100%. And yeah, if you are going to make that change, make sure it's a good one. Don't bring on players who were miles past their due date. People like Moy and Adam Armstrong and all of those guys. I just think you've got options, use them. Especially players that I'd love to see Sam Edozie come back in. He gives us something different, and as I've been slightly critical at points because I think his final ball is got to be worked on, but he's always at the fullbacks. He's always taking people on. He's winning fouls for Ward-Prowse. He's scaring fullbacks, frankly. And I think one day it'd be lovely to see a Kamaldeen Edozie sort of parallel partnership on the wings. So yeah, I mean, let's get on to the Man United game and have a quick chat about that then. So we will face United. They have come straight off the back of a 4-1 win against Real Betis, but we know their last league appearance was a bit worse than that. A 7-0 hounding at Liverpool. Do you think they got a point to prove there, Martin? Are they gonna absolutely do us?
No, I don't think they will. I don't think they will. Look, they're unbeaten in 20 games at Old Trafford at this moment in time. That's going to come to an end at some stage. Whether we can do that the weekend, I don't know. 89% win ratio. Bruno Fernandes is captain, so we could do without him playing at the weekend. But it's a tough place to go, isn't it? It's we played well there last year. I think we was in that purple patch that we had. And we were decent there, but we'll win this in 14 against Man United in all competitions, drawn 7, lost 7. That's since that 1-0 when at Old Trafford in 2016 that we spoke about before we come on the show. Yeah, it will be a tough place to go, mate. We know what Old Trafford's like. But, if you get amongst them, the fans turn on them quite quickly, I noticed. There's something that you would say about them. I don't think it's ever a good time to play United, but I don't necessarily massively fear them. We've played really well against Chelsea twice this year, and Chelsea have got a really, really good squad of players. So I don't think we should go there in fear. There's nothing to lose. I quite like that. We go there with minimal amount of pressure. It's a free hit for me, depending on how results go around us tomorrow, really, because that's obviously every weekend we're looking around at what everyone else is doing. And it always plays upon your mind about how everyone else is going to finish up. But by the time we play Sunday, it'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it will be, and it is worth noting what's going on around because there are some tough fixtures for those around us, not just us. I mean, the likes of Bournemouth going up to Liverpool, so
it's a massive game. It's down here as well. I think that Liverpool can't go there. I think they're being for hiding. Big one with Everton Brentford is a massive game. Everton really and truly has not really got them going just yet. Leeds Brighton, I think Brighton look the informed side in the league, don't they? They look top draw at the moment. Leicester got sucked in it. They host Chelsea, so and that, there's big games everywhere, and Forest have got to go to Spurs, and they're in free fall at the moment. They're not getting
Leicester
wins,
are well in it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Palace
and we got
City
to remember,
as well.
West Ham are playing Villa. West Ham are playing Villa, and they I mean, if West Ham lose against Villa, could drag them straight back in again. It's tough.
Yeah, I think it's
unrelenting.
tight. Yeah, it's really tight, mate. It's a massive weekend. Massive week. Every weekend's big, but this weekend everyone around has got hard fixtures. So look, let's not fear United. I don't fear them at
No,
all.
no. I like the 50% record you said. I know it's seven losses, 7 draws, but a point at Old Trafford is as good as anything right now. If we can get anything from that game, it would be absolutely unbelievable. I think again, it's not out of the realms of possibility. We've done it before. We can do it again. Just play without fear, and like you say, they do get on the players' backs. Do you? How good would it be, by the way, to see Ward-Prowse level that record in Old Trafford?
I was going to touch upon that, Josh. I have a feeling he'd do it. I think it's written, isn't it? Really, to go to United.
It's almost
He
too
scored a
perfect.
Yeah, he scored a good few free kicks there. I'd love to see him do it. I want to see him beat that record in the Southampton shirt because if we do go down, there's no doubt he'll move on. But I'd love to see him beat the record. To equal it in the Southampton shirt would be incredible. To beat it, which I think he will. I think he will do it. I think there's enough games for him to do it. In a Southampton jersey, it would be if it is a a relegation at the end of the season, it would be a slight nice thing to touch upon and see. Team selections interest me, Josh. How we set up and who comes in at the weekend, and whether he stays with the same side. I don't think he will. Do you?
I was actually just going to ask you the same question, which is quite funny. I do, yeah, possibly. I think he might. He doesn't like to change a winning formula. I think the one we will see is probably Charlie, if anybody, because of the injury. He said if he doesn't play United, he'll definitely be there at Brentford on Wednesday. So I think that could be the only change. If I do see Elyounoussi starting in that place, I'd be gutted. I would if I was Ruben Sellers, I think the changes I would make, and I know I'm probably going to get some pelters for it. I would take Bednarek out. Um,
Definitely.
I'd take Bednarek out, and I'm not going to say I've seen a couple of people saying, "Oh, it's the way he went and patted Gavin on the back, that's captain material." I'm like, no, it's not. It's cheerleader material. Stick him on the sideline, let him do his support and that. I just don't. I think with it's tough. He probably will start with Jan because he's tall and he's going to have to contest with the likes of Wout Weghorst, no doubt, because Ten Hag loves to play with Weghorst. So he will be contending with him. You'll probably see. We'll probably see the fullbacks stay the same because again we're going to want the quickest fullbacks we've got to be playing with the likes of Anthony and Rashford attacking them. Even if one of them's not playing, they've got people like Elanga on the bench who is again extremely pacey and skillful. So we're going to want experienced fullbacks. I would personally take Bednarek out and have the Sally Bella-Kotchap partnership. I think before the World Cup, those two sort of found out a lot about each other and they were forming that, and it seemed to be going really well. So I'd like to see that again. I don't think if Charlie's injured, then I'd change it, but I wouldn't change that midfield. I think everybody there worked brilliantly. If Charlie is injured, I would like to see a Stuart Armstrong come in, or possibly even Tall Paul and have Che Adams in that 10, because I think Che Adams is a much better support striker than he is as a 9. So yeah, I think those would be the only possible changes I would make. Would you make anything different to what I've just laid out?
I'd quite like to see Sally start centre half like you. I'd feel me with more confidence and seeing Benderek play there. I mirror what you say with that. Absolutely. I think Maitland-Niles had a decent game at the weekend. He's definitely pulled his socks up since Sellers has taken charge. There's no doubt about that. I thought he played well first half. He dealt with Maddison fairly well, really, because Maddison's a fantastic player for Leicester at the weekend. He's a good player. He's their key man. He done well with him, really. He worked hard. I thought he just looked a bit more at it than he did do, because his body language, I didn't like it under Jones. Obviously, you could tell he didn't want to play for the manager. There's no doubt about that. I think any of them did, but he certainly didn't. So yeah, like the fullback is probably stay as it is. I think the back four will be unlikely to change it. Theo, you would think would still start. Again, like you, I don't want to see Moy in that midfield. Absolutely do not. Like you say, by just dropping Adams in and you say maybe using tall Paul's is a good option. I think he'd be a good option for, especially not the highest, the tallest centre halves. United,
I was going to
Martinez.
say you got to bear in mind that Martinez is a short centre half.
Shaw's
Yeah.
played there, but Shaw had a dreadful game at
Against
Liverpool. He was
awful.
The thing is, I've read some stuff today. That you wouldn't want to be in the trenches with that lot, would you? They're just Fernandez's attitude. Surprised he played last night. I did watch a bit of the game last night, but his attitude was like so bad. If one of our players played like that, you'd be ashamed.
Yeah, I think he's very Marmite. I think if you're a United fan, you probably love him, and if you're not, you can't stand the bloke. I'm not his biggest fan at all. I think he's a shithouse. I don't think he's a good captain, as in he doesn't set an example very well for people. Yeah, I just think he's a bit of a tosser, really. But that's just my opinion. I do quite like Eric Ten Hag. I don't want to because I'm not a big fan of United and I never have been. But I do quite like Eric Ten Hag. Have you? What have you made of him?
Mate, I think he's done a good fan. You can't fault what he's done there. When he went in there, obviously that had that result against Brentford early on in the season, didn't they? And they went to Brentford and lost, and he's had to deal with the Ronaldo situation, which would have been really, really difficult at the football club. But he's dealt with it really well. Like I said to you during the show, I know Tom Heaton there, and he said he sets really, really high standards, and he won't mind me saying that he does set high standards. You can see that, for people. You see with the Rashford situation, he was late, wasn't he? And he dropped him. He's not scared to make his mark with big players, but they got a style of play about them now. They got an identity that they probably didn't have. Something wasn't quite right at the weekend. We all have off days, but they proper collapsed. I was really surprised at how much they collapsed. Like, I like their midfield. I think they got a good midfield, United, to be fair. And obviously Rashford's been dynamite. He's been absolutely dynamite to watch. Fantastic form. I think as an Englishman, it's great to see, isn't it? Hopefully he's on the bench the weekend, or he gets a little amount of time, or he has a really off day.
Yeah, I think another player that's worth highlighting, and I think the whole league's been doing it because he's been. I mean, let's be fair, he's been outstanding for United. Probably the difference from the summer is Casemiro, and I think if he plays and we do start with someone like Elyounoussi, it's game over already. Can you really see a Moy Elyounoussi outfoxing Casemiro? It's just not going to happen. The guy is one of the best in the world at what he does. He is really, really good. There's no doubt about it. His intelligence, his football intelligence is clear to see. Yeah, I don't think Charlie would have a much better chance than Moy. I'm not saying that Charlie will absolutely pocket him because Casemiro is brilliant. So he's going to be one that's tough. The interesting one is whoever plays in that deep one against our sixes. Whether because recently he has been dropping Weghorst deeper to play Rashford in behind. So it'd be interesting to see who sort of Lavia and Ward-Prowse have to deal with, because I'm sure it would be those two play. Yeah, what do you reckon about the likes of Moy playing against Casemiro?
Casemiro, good point to touch upon him, really. I think I saw a press conference early on in the season with the Liverpool assistant manager, and he spoke about winning football games. I think it might have been prior to a cup game. He came out and did the presser, and he spoke about midfield, having a strong central midfield and how important it was to dominate games in midfield, and it will win you games. And he's correct in what he said, because that is the difference, like you said, for United, by having somebody that can really get hold of the ball. Look, he's for now. I quite like the fact that sometimes it's not bought someone that's going to be good in the 2 years' time, 3 years' time, a bit like what we've done. They've bought someone for now, what they need at this moment in time, something that we maybe neglected in our transfer window. We could take a little bit of that approach maybe going forward, and they might not admit it, the board, Rasmus and the board, but buying somebody for now, for here and now, when you're in the Premier League, I think is really, really important. Everton obviously did it with Conor Cody, but sometimes you just need a bit of experience. Someone's been around the block a bit. He knows how to play the game. He's fantastic on the ball, isn't he? Doesn't really give it away. I think Moy against him, you don't fancy at all. I wonder if he'd play an extra holding midfielder at the weekend, maybe against them, and just try and get hold of the midfield, because you need to get hold of the ball and you can't give it away against them. And it'd be hard with with those two in there, Fernandes and Casemiro, I think it will be tough. Like you said, we don't want more in there, whatever happens.
No. I mean, it's they haven't changed their approach United all season. Brentford sussed it and they absolutely took them apart. Their approach is very, very simple. They have Casemiro in the anchor. They have Fred and Bruno playing just off, and they have two inside forwards in either Anthony and Rashford or whoever he plays in that position. And then obviously he's introduced this big man up front to give that sort of that target man feel. So everyone sort of worries about the big guy. He sort of floats deep now, Weghorst, and plays it off to the quicker guys, which is it seems to be working. They're not particularly mercurial. They don't change all the time. He's very structured, Ten Hag, in what he does, and he doesn't. I think his philosophy is probably do what you know and do it well, and I quite like that. And like you said, it's so important to get someone for now, and I think they definitely did that. I mean, 70 million for a 32-year-old sounds crazy, but when you look at the performances he has been putting in, the risk as far like is nowhere near outweighed the reward that they've got from it. So fair play to them. I think there's only one other thing to cover about United, and it's I'll ask you for a score prediction on that one, Martin.
I think it'd be really tight. Maybe a 2-1 defeat. If I'm honest, I think we'll lose. I don't think it'd be by a massive amount, but I think it'd probably be 2-1. Ward-Prowse to score a free kick though for me.
Yeah, I was gonna go 2-1 defeat, but I will change it and be slightly positive, and I will go for a scrappy 1-1 because I can't see us keeping a clean sheet. That's for sure. That is absolutely for sure.
Walked away with
They'd have
that.
to be having.
It'd be amazing. Walked away with a
They
point.
would
It'd
have
be
to have.
incredible.
Oh, it would be. Especially imagine a clean sheet in any capacity if it was a draw or a win. Unbelievable. Can't see it happening. But I'll take a draw. I would take a draw and I will go for it because why not? So I mean, after that we play the former club of our chairman Rasmus Ankerson, Brentford. So yeah, it's been really tough, Martin, and the past couple of times. The first we were mentioning it before we came on. The last time we beat Brentford was a pretty rampant 4-1, which was actually Sport Republic's first game. And I said to you how I felt coming away from the stadium. I felt like we're in for an absolute ride, and that it has been, but not in the way I thought at the time. So I mean, the two after that were 2-3-0s, both away. We're playing them at home again. How do you fancy it?
Oh mate, I think the next whatever happens Sunday, against Man United, what will be there. But I always earmark the next two home games of being really, really big. Like every game's big, but it's pivotal that we're going to need to walk away with something out of those two. With Brentford being the better chance, I could watch Tottenham in the week just gone in the Champions League against AC Milan, and I thought they were dreadfully poor. They don't go at teams. They're not the Tottenham Hotspur that they used to be. I'm hopefully might go and have a watch of them tomorrow against Forest. But for me, the Brentford game's the one you really want to try and win, because if you can really get the fans behind us, I thought the fans were great against Leicester, but if we can create that atmosphere, get that buzz going, get behind them, and we just need to start fast. We don't start games particularly fast, but you need to go. You're going to have to get them. They don't play a lot of football. I watched them last week, and they hit the ball long a lot, don't they? They don't play a lot on the deck at all. They're looking for Tony. They're looking in behind. I think that this with us. I think there's bottom of there was a table there on teams that keep possession. They were like one of the third bottom teams for keeping possession, but obviously the position in the league's really good. Us and Bournemouth were the other two that were below them. So obviously we don't keep the ball very well at all. But then that statistic could have been marred by the Nathan Jones style of play. But I think we have to win, mate. We have to win that game if we can. We have to get something.
Yeah, I think it's crucial getting something. I mean, I've seen everyone. Oh, how many points would you like to get out of the next three games? As in United, Leicester. United, Brentford, Spurs. So I'd like to get 9. That'd be great, but we won't. So I mean, realistically, 4 points would be a dream out of those 3. I think, like you say, we will talk more on Spurs next week in depth. But I do think they are more than gettable. Again, Brentford is such a big game, and we say it all the time now, but we make it harder for ourselves. I do think that Thomas Frank is one of the. I mean, for me, he's a top. I was going to say top 5 manager in the league. It's a big statement, but I don't think tactically Thomas Frank is sort of anything different to what the league's seen before. It's not like anything that's completely new, and he's come with these unbelievable ideas. I just think that as a man, he just seems to. He must be an unbelievable manager, because the way he conducts himself in the press and the way that his players clearly respond to him is outstanding. And the funny thing is he was a Rasmus recruit, so I wonder if he's gonna be wary of that and try to put one over on us again after Rasmus has obviously moved on. What do you think on Thomas Frank?
Oh, mate, what a job he's done. Unbelievable manager. Really impressed with the job he's done there. I'll tell you what I really, really like. They've got, since that promotion to the Premier League, they've got a real good connect between the fans, the players, and the club. Like the atmosphere. I had Gary Neville touch upon it, and I think Carragher maybe touched on it on Sky the other day. They reckon it's one of the best atmospheres in the division to go to. And it is, they really connect with the fans. He connects with the fans. He's a proper clubman. And it, like you say, he's getting the best out of the players. He probably technically doesn't have the best squad in the league, but he's certainly getting the best out of them. And the difference of what we've wanted all season is a goal scorer in Tony. He's going to be suspended in a minute. There's no doubt about that. But God, he's a good penalty taker. What his technique is so unique when it comes to taking penalties, isn't it, Josh? It's just like, wow.
Yeah, I seen him do an interview last week, and they sort of asked him, because there was a delay in taking the penalty, and he sort of said, they said, what would you do? How'd you calm yourself? He just went, I just think of other things like going on holiday and stuff. I just thought, do you know what? You got to be ice cool, fair play. But I mean, yeah, he is waiting for that inevitable ban. It would have been nice if he got it before we played him, but typically he won't, and he'll probably score knowing him. I read a stat today and it really shook me, because I thought, wow, like they've come so far in such a short period of time. Look at where they are, and it was the fact that and it's same for Brighton, because it's very similar. Is that their all-time Premier League top goal scorer is Ivan Toney, and I think it's like 23 goals, which is absurd. And you look, and Brighton is the same. I think there's a joint is Murray and Mope, and they both got 26. I think, look at where these guys are now. They've got next to no history in the Premier League, and they've just seemed to have cracked it. I mean, not that it's got longevity or anything, because it's hard to say. I mean, we were those guys 5 years ago, 6 years ago, so it's hard to say. But like, I mean, the job that they're both doing, and especially Brentford, it just seems to be. Yeah, it just seems to be a great place to be. Is for the likes of fans. The team seems to respond well to everything they do.
It's momentum, isn't it? I think that's the biggest thing in football. If you can get momentum early in a season and you can keep that flowing. You look back to our days when we got promotion from League One, and the momentum that we gained in that season going through League One, get promotion, then the Championship, it kind of just led us into the next season, and that kept going. And then obviously when we went into the Premier League, it was a little bit sticky for a while. But football is, and it played to people's strengths as well, isn't it? Like we always used to play to Ricky Lambert's strengths. They play to Ivan Toney's strengths, Brentford, don't they? And it works. He scores goals, and it's all about a goal scorer. And that's the one thing that we needed, and we still don't look like we will have. I think that's where we come undone, because we don't have that Danny Ings, and we never replaced Amanda Broya. They didn't replace those two, and it will probably haunt us at the end of the season. But touching on Brentford, mate, play to his strengths, momentum that's what football's all about.
It is momentum and unity, so important, and they've both. It seemed like for Brentford, it aligned. Erasmus's favourite word. It all aligned at the same time, and they've ran with it. And fair play to them. Like we say, Tony is obviously going to get this inevitable ban. I won't touch too much on the politics of it, because it's a bit sticky, and you compare it with other bans, and whatever. That's the FA's to deal with. That's fine. But I've actually written down Ivan Toney versus Yanni B ? I mean that's quite frightening, because I just feel like Jan is so passive, and if he does play, obviously it depends on the weekend. It's the weekend's most important, but I just can't see Jan coming out on top on that one. Could you?
No, Salisu play. You would think if he's fit, you would want to see Salisu. I think Bella Kotcher's a lot quicker on the ground. I think we look better with Bella. Goes down a lot, Bella. If you notice, he seems to pick up a lot of. Don't know if he's got a niggly injury or he just has this tendency to end up on the deck. But yeah, he goes down fairly easy, Bella, but he's quick on the ground. I like his pace. I think he'd be really important to keep fit, Bella, but obviously you wouldn't want to be without him for the Brentford game. No, fingers crossed that he comes through the weekend unscathed and is available for that home game against St Mary's, because, mate, it's the biggest night game that we've had there for many months, and we've had some big games there, haven't we?
Yeah, I think the last one, the biggest night game after that was Forest, and we were absolutely bitterly let down on that one.
Bottled it.
Yeah. Oh, it will be huge. The atmosphere, I expect, will be huge. I mean, we got to remember this game was supposed to take place months ago before the passing of the Queen, and it was postponed. So this has been a long time. You know, they'd already prepared for Brentford before. They whether it was under a different manager, the team were prepared to play Brentford the very next day, and it didn't happen. So, you know, they refresh, new ideas. You know, Brentford have carried on the same. We haven't. So I think, you know, fresh. There's no reason. There's absolutely no reason why we can't go and, you know, why we can't get a result. There's no. I mean, it's at home. As bad as we have been at home, we should be looking to turn that corner and say, no, you know, St Mary's is a fortress. If you want to come here, we're going to be difficult to beat. And teams like Brentford, we shouldn't be fearing. You know, we shouldn't. Any team we shouldn't, but Brentford especially. I'm looking. You know, I've been looking at the key battles on the field. I can't see anywhere but that final third for Brentford where we could come unstuck. I mean, they haven't got like the most. You know, they haven't got the best players in the league, have they? They're just really well organised. I think. I mean, you can correct me, but what do you think in terms of where the game can be won on the field? I feel like if we can cut that pass, cut that directness to Tony, and almost push him out the game, I think we you know, the rest does it sort of, you know.
We spoke about goalkeepers earlier on in the show. It's worth touching upon their goalkeeper, David Raya. He's been probably the informed goalkeeper in the league. I play a lot of the fantasy football league, and he's in a lot of people's teams because he's been fantastic. He'd get moved to a big club this summer, from what I believe. He'll end up at a top 4 club. There's any doubt about it. He, on his day, he'd be a bit better than Danny Ward was at the weekend. Now, Danny Ward's probably one of the, you know, one of the great goalkeepers in the league. So we're going to be up against the top goalkeepers. We're going to have to get shots off against them. You need to get in and around their back four. But they do. I watch them and they do bypass their midfield. So I think you've got to put them under pressure. You have to, like you say, get them high up the field and work hard. And that high press that we did against Chelsea is sort of like one of that start to what we had. Need to try and dominate the ball a bit more. We haven't really done that a great deal this season. But I think like Theo's Walcott's presser, I watched it again today actually before we did the show tonight, and I really enjoy listening to what he said. And it just, sometimes it doesn't matter if it's a bit scrappy, as long as we get a result. It doesn't matter if it's pretty. I'd be happy if every game was like it was against Leicester, as long as we get results. But he's a good goalie, Raya. So that it's going to be hard to beat him. That's for sure. Like you say, Samuel Dozy, still like to see him in and around that. An option off the bench, pace to go at people, to get free kicks in and around the edge of the box. Still think it's needed.
Couldn't agree more. I think there's a couple of players that could really grab an opportunity against Brentford with two hands. I think Adozie is one of them, as you pointed out there. I think another one, and I might get pelters for it again, but I think if Sally doesn't play or Bella doesn't play, I would definitely be having Chiletta Sarr in over Bednarek, just purely. And even if, you know, we've been less impressive recent performances with him, but he's been described to me by several people as like he plays like a quarterback role. You know, he's very good at doing that. He can, you know, and if they're going to bypass their midfield, I think it's only, you know, he's a sort of player who could deal with that. He's good in the air. And let's be fair, he's quite good at being a wind-up merchant. And Ivan Toney bites. We know that Ivan Toney bites. He's got that Wilfried Zaha-esque like attitude about him sometimes, where he just can't take the niggling from defenders. And I think if you had if you add Douya in that mix, you could really, that could be the one for him that really suits him. Time will tell. I think there is a few players with a lot to prove, especially against Brentford. Maybe not so much against United. I mean, I'm praying obviously that they go out with no fear, but Old Trafford is tough, isn't it? Score prediction?
I'm going to go with a narrow 1-0 win. Southampton, same as the Leicester game. I think we'll win it. I think we've got a really good chance.
Okay, I like it. I am going to go for a 2-1 win. I think we'll go 1-0 down, and I think we'll have a comeback, and St Mary's will be rocking by the 85th minute, and also shitting itself, saying please don't score.
We need St Mary's to rock, Josh. That's one thing
I
that
think
we
it will.
really need. Like, it's too nice a place to come and play football sometimes.
Mhm.
Some of these away teams, like my mate says to me, "Oh Christ, you would come and play here." He said, "It's like we're too nice." I like the Saints brass. Let's get the beat going a bit more. Let's not have the funeral march. Let's just kind of get everyone going a bit. I like the Saints brass, but just get amongst it. Get the fans up for it. Some of
I agree.
all these light displays, get rid of it all. Just get on with it. Turn the tunes up and
get it going. Yeah,
get everyone rocking. Yeah, get everyone rocking.
get it going.
I'm going with sort of four massive Saints fans from the Isle of Wight. We travel over and mate, we're talking about it already. We're buzzing for it because
It's
mate,
a big game.
if we can get a win and we go into the weekend, that really gives us a bit of confidence, and it's our last chance now.
It's huge, and it is huge,
Last
and
chance.
yeah, I agree. I think get them up for it, and to touch on that quickly, before I give you my score prediction. Oh no, sorry, I've done that, but just to touch on that quickly before we sort of close it off, I do want to say that you mentioned there about being a nice place to come and play, and I could not agree more. I was watching the other day. I don't know if you've seen it, but Gary Neville does a thing called Soccer Box where he sits down with an ex-pro, and it was Lettice, and he sat down with him, and they've gone through all the times they faced each other and Lettice's career and all that sort of stuff, and Gary Neville turned to him and said, "Your place was hard to come and play, like as in the Dell was a hard place." He said, "If I'm being honest with you, mate, we hated playing there." And that was a United team that was full of superstars. They were legends. Those players, or went on to be, and the TIS responded by saying, "You would not believe the amount of former pros who have said that to me, that they hated coming and playing at the Dell." And he said, Gary Neville said, "What do you think that was about? Why did it?" He just said that it was hostile. Everyone was so close, and it was all packed in, and the pitch wasn't the greatest, and you really knew if you were to win, you had to be right at it. And we were always, no matter if we were underdogs, it was going to be hard because the atmosphere was unbelievable there. And I do think we lost a bit of it moving to St Mary's.
You're absolutely spot on, Josh, about when there was a massive opportunity missed by Rupert Lowe and that board of directors when they moved to St Mary's, that we needed St Mary's. But there was a trick miss because you could have just incorporated a little bit more. They went for the standard bowl-shaped stadium. It's the same as Leicester, wasn't it, at the time? It was the same as Derby at the time, very similar to the Stadium of Light because they're all being built at that time. But they did miss a trick with it, just to incorporate a few of the really cool little bits in the Dow that worked really well for us. And you could have incorporated that within the stadium a little bit. I think Arsenal did. I think Arsenal created something a bit, obviously it's a bigger club and bigger fan base. It's in the middle of London. It's totally different, but we did miss a trick with it. And it is a lot nice. It's always been the same at St Mary's. It's too nice a place to come and play football sometimes. I wish it was more intimidating, and it needs to be more intimidating when sides come and face us. I think you're absolutely correct in what you're saying. I back you up massively on it. It's a good point.
Yeah, and it did show from watching that. If you do get a chance, watch it. I mean, he might not be everyone's flavour right now, Tiz, but he is, at the end of the day, he's a legend of our football club, and he did, reflecting on his career and stuff, and it was interesting. There was lots of points about different managers, Alan Ball, and afterwards in people like Gordon Strachan, and he mentioned a lot, and how people like Franny helped him out, and it was great. It was a great watch. So go and watch it. I think we did lose a bit, but when St Mary's does go, it's brilliant. It really is. I mean, you go, but we've had some nights, we've had some days, some stick out in your head. I think one of them for me, I think if we can recreate any type of atmosphere like the atmosphere we had when we beat Liverpool 3-2 after going 2-0 down, at that game, I lost my voice for the entire week. It was tough to beat that. And it just shows we're capable of it.
I think one of my favourites memories was when we beat Tottenham, and James Ward-Prowse scored that late free kick.
Yeah, the free kick. Yeah,
when Hoberg was playing in midfield with him. Yeah, it was a great day. It was a great day.
Yeah, we have had some great days. Let's just hope that Wednesday night is one of those pins in the board that you remember. That I remember that night against Brentford when we turned them over, we smashed them 7-0.
You want them to turn up and play like they did last season, because they were I think look back at all the sides that played last season, they were probably the worst. They just had a really off day. They just didn't. That was a midweek game as well, to be fair. It was under the lights at St Mary's.
It was.
But they didn't show up that day. It was right at the end of our purple patch. It was the last good game at home. Like you said, Sport Republic come in and took over. The ride we were looking for. Let's not touch on it again.
Yeah, exactly. Just before we do end today, I do want to just read out an interesting comment we had on last week's video, and I will pose it to you, Martin, and see what you say to this. It was left by Super Saint Christoph, so thank you for your comment. And he said, "When are our fans going to admit that we have 4, maybe 5 genuine Prem players? Others are not." Can you argue against that? Has he got a case? Do you think he's right?
Yeah, he's got a case, to be fair. Yeah, I think he's got a case. What about you? Do you think he has?
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? Because when you're a professional and you've made it at the very top level, it's hard to discredit it sometimes and say, well, you're not a Prem player. But a lot of them you can look at and say, you're just not up to it, are you?
When I look at it, like Premiership standard, I think Lavia's going to the top. Ward-Prowse walking pretty much most sides in the Premier League.
I think that's the way you look at it. Who would they play for otherwise?
Walker-Peters, Salisu, if could end up at Newcastle. Bella Kocher will continue to play in the Premier League. Adams will continue to play. But there's probably more. There's more than what he's saying, to be fair, in my personal opinion. It's tight. Yeah, there's a few that are not good enough at this moment in time, but they will be good enough. Enough. But like we said earlier in the show, there's no time in the Premier League.
There's no time.
You don't have time. You need to mix it. You need to mix it with the experience and young talent that's gonna flourish. You can't just do one a day. You can't have a load of older experienced players and have no young players. You need to mix it. And I think Rasmus and the board of directors, they know that. They know that. They won't admit it, but they know.
They definitely behind closed doors had egg on their face, and I think Martin Semmens was probably slightly smug about it in the end. But we'll see. I would expect he was quite smug behind the scenes. But yeah, thank you for your comment. I do. Yeah, I think we've just summed up our thoughts there. I do understand where you're coming from, though. It is one of those with our players. Sometimes you can think get them all out, and sometimes they're the best thing in the world. But we can only hope that they perform this weekend. If you do want to leave a comment or at us on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, anything, search us up, the Southampton Way Podcast. Leave a comment. Can be anything, and we'll go through them. We'll pick out some. We'll read them out. We'll respond to them. It's good to get your interaction. I think we all need to get some stuff off our chest sometimes, especially being a Southampton fan. So yeah, I mean, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Martin, thank you for coming back on. I know it's trying circumstances.
I've enjoyed it. It's been good to speak to you. It's good to speak to you about my love and my passion, just like you.
Always, mate. But yeah, we had a tricky one, so thank you for coming back. I really appreciate it. We'll wrap it up. So thank you very much for listening. Catch us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Just search the Southampton Way Podcast, and do remember, if you want to be notified for when we upload, just subscribe to our YouTube. Thank you very much, everybody, and speak to you soon.